But then came the diagnosis in 2021.
Sam, how did you find Carnivore?
A friend of mine started it, and I thought, well, he looks great and he lost a lot of weight, but it's pretty impossible to just eat meat, I suppose. You need your vegetables and you need your fruits and you need your fibers. Um, I was just starting keto because of a diabetes type 2 diagnosis. And keto helped to get me off, but going on only meat was impossible, I thought. And well, I had success with a keto diet. So I lost my diabetes 2 values. That's beautiful, I guess. And my cholesterol became normal. I wasn't really happy, and I didn't really lose weight. And what remained was my fatigue. I was so tired all the time, and that's not a recent story. That's all my life. I've been tired all my life. Um, that's the bigger picture. I had a rough childhood. Instead of care, I got candy, and so I learned that food is my comfort. And I put myself to sleep by eating a lot, by stuffing a lot of food in my body. So I would be so tired from digesting that I could sleep really deeply. And food was my comforter. But from an early age, I understood I had to help myself because I understood I wasn't born in the nicest of places, and I had to help myself. And also, when I was uh, independent, when I got out of the family and took care of myself, I thought to myself, if I need sweets to comfort myself, let it be that. As long as I do not have another solution, let me buy sweets. So go to the best baker in town, find the best pastries, find the nicest cakes, take many of them home and enjoy. And just do it. And do not blame yourself for it. You'll find another way, but as long as that's not there, you just do that. So that was my life, and it's a wonder that I didn't grow to be square. um, I could have easily, but I was pretty active, and I never stopped eating healthy food too. So I've been pretty healthy all my life and occupied with what to eat. I've been a vegetarian for a long time. But one time I sat on a kitchen table, and the woman I was sharing a house with, she really couldn't stand the smell of meat. So we were strictly vegetarian in that household. And but I was sitting at the kitchen table, and I was just tired and dreaming off a little. And all of a sudden, I had this daydream, like I was roaming over the prairie, and I was like, you know, and there I saw a zebra, and I ran, and I got it down, and I started devouring it like crazy. And I came to my senses, and I thought, oh my God, it's time I go to the butcher. This is high time to get some meat. I'd been a vegetarian for a year and a half then, and I have always craved meat. My childhood, we weren't really, there wasn't a lot of money, so meat was scarce. And if we had some, it was low quality and it was little. And I always wanted meat, liverwurst, you know, and ground beef and steak and everything I could get my hands on, and just meats for on to put on bread, you know. Uh, I wanted that so much. I was anemic, seriously anemic, that just gave you iron and left you alone, and that just up your metabolism and your stool, uh, you know, and didn't really help. Later on in life, I discovered I was anemic on two ways, but that's and so I tried to eat healthily all my life, and I tried to find solutions for my fatigue. I was always tired. In school, always picked last for the teams in sports class because I was not able to go. And um, tiredness has been a constant in my life. So I was always looking for solutions, and I tried everything food wise and therapy wise, and fasts on tea, fasts on fruit juices, vegetable juices. Well, years and years and years. And then menopause hit. I had a terrible experience as a woman all my life. Um, I am also a hypersensitive person, so a highly sensitive person. So I sense everything in my body, and everything hits me so much harder than general. Um, and I had terrible periods, so heavy and so painful, and my hormones took me really sky high and so low. It I was so happy that stopped, but also my menopause took a good 10 years and was terrible. Yes, it was 2005, 2015 was my menopause. It was pretty early on, so um, in, I'm now 61. So in 2015, I was
Yeah, so it'd be like 51 or something. Yeah, something like that. No?
yeah, or
Yeah.
52, and then my menopause was over and heaven began in that perspective. Then my weight gain started from 70 to 90, and it kept on going up. And I tried my best to eat healthily and not to overeat, but I still had, of course, a problem with the cycle of sugar and insulin. So I was almost always hungry. My whole life, I was hungry. As a child, I was super hungry. And when I could control my own food, I was less hungry, but always hungry. And even on keto, I didn't lose weight, and I didn't get rid of my fatigue. Uh, and then, of course, I once heard of it through that friend who started it, and he became really slender, really, really, he lost a lot of weight. He stopped now, unfortunately, so he gained it back. Yeah, social, social structures make it hard for some people. Um, but then I was on the internet because I'm always on YouTube and always looking out for new ideas and knowledge, etc. And I heard Peter Jordan, Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson was in such a little short saying literally, well, and then I found out you could only eat meat. And I thought, well, is that possible even? And yeah, it's possible. And that's exactly what I thought. Only meat? Really possible? Would it be really possible? Whoa, I would love that. I would love that. So uh, at that time, I guess I was totally ready for it. I guess that's really important to be ready for it because it didn't take me 3 days to start it. Of course, I have an analytical mind, so I needed to do some research and look around and listen to some some medical people about it, like Anthony Chaffee and Ken Berry, um, because I needed to have some foundation for this new idea. But within 3 days, I had thrown everything I had in the cupboard over the what do you call it, the fence to the neighbors. They still eat that, so bye bye. The whole fridge emptied out to the neighbors and filled it up with meat, and I was started.
Did you tell them before you threw it over?
No, they just stepped out one morning and I saw a pile of vegetables. No, I told them, yeah. And they loved it because they're baking bread. I was baking my own bread, you know. I was, uh, that was, no, that was before. That was, on Carnivore was the second time I threw the whole bunch over the fence because I first did that already when I started keto. Um, because the last years before keto, I sort of lost it. I thought I've tried everything and nothing is helping. So you know what? And then I moved to where I live now, and this is a lovely place to live. It's so quiet and it's half in the forest. It's a very tiny forest village, and we have nothing here, just restaurants for tourists who come here to walk and to hike, but no stores, etc. No shops. And it's lovely to live here, really. And I have a garden for the first time in my life. And I thought, you know, I have a kitchen with an oven now, a real furnace with an oven, and I can bake. And that was 2016, 17, and I started baking, you know, my own bread and cakes and pies and chocolate fudge, you know, nice stuff, and cookies, and gave it away to people. Just happy bakery, and you know, so. But then came the diagnosis in 2021, diabetes type 2 and high cholesterol. And I had been keen on checking my heart for years because my mother died when she was 52 of heart failure. And so I had been, every 6 years or so, I checked, I had those tests, you know, in a heart clinic. And I knew about my cholesterol, but somehow I didn't get, I didn't buy the story about cholesterol. You know, of course, I knew a lot about food already, and I thought, well, don't go focusing on just one aspect, one thingy in all those natural cycles. And it's not so strange that I got this diagnosis, but I switched then. I turned the switch and went to keto, and that was the first time I threw it all over the fence to the neighbors that lived there. So that's why I point there. And they were happy. They took all my flours and all my bakery stuff, and all my seeds and nuts. And no, not the seeds and nuts. That was the second time when I started Carnivore. It was the second wave over the fence, and they're waiting for the third, but I'm afraid that's not going to come. When I talk to people about Carnivore, I say it's keto 2.0, you know, and actually there is no 3.0 over Carnivore. Carnivore is the top. So when I started August 2023, Carnivore, mid-August. And since then, of course, I learned a lot of things, and I had moments where I thought, what am I doing? What am I doing? You know? And then I thought, well, there's nothing better than this. You've established that. You know, you did your research and by now, and you've established that, and there's nothing better than this. So you can't go back. and there's no other next. So you got to stick to it, and that helped me a lot, just to know that this is it, and I got to make it work, and I can vary with ingredients, and that I did, because I started thinking I need variation, you know. So I made beautiful plates full of different kinds of meat, and liver and sausages and eggs you know, and ground beef and a lot of steaks and rib eyes, of course. And but I slowly changed, and at first I ate dairy, dairy, and yeah, because I'm Dutch, so I do speak it. I write English better than I speak it, but I'm doing all right, I guess. So yeah, thank you. And so I kept eating dairy, and I loved cream, and I took stevia to sweeten it with, and yogurt and kefir and raw kefir and stuff like that. Um, and cheese. Oh, cheese and bacon and pork and all kinds of meats, you know. And but of course, month after month after month, you start to notice things and learn things from the internet. And I'm very fond of Anthony Chaffee, and he's a doctor, and Dr. Ken D. Berry. They're my go-to guys on knowledge. But my God, Steak and Butter Gal and 5 Minute Body. What's her name?
Rena.
Rena, exactly. They collected interviews with women, and with elderly women like I am. I'm 61 now, so you know I'm post-menopause. So there are differences for men and women, and there are differences when you're after menopause. And I'm so grateful for them, for Rena and Steak and Butter Gal, for talking to elderly women for me. And I learned that I maybe wasn't losing weight because I didn't need that much fat. I didn't need that much butter. It was maybe better to see what happens if you stop eating pork and bacon. And there I went in the direction of Lion's diet. Not completely. I do occasionally eat salmon and sardines. I try to eat fatty fishes at least once a week. I eat occasionally pork because I like it, but little. And I quit the dairy altogether. And at that point, I started losing weight. So it goes best for me when I stick to my basics. When I stick to one, we say 1 pound, but that's 415 grams, 500 grams of ground beef, grass-fed, grass-finished ground beef from free roaming herds in the north of the Netherlands. 3 herds are there freely, and there's one nice farm that handles the butchery and the cutting, etc., and the distribution of the meat. And they bring me 10 kilos of ground beef every 3 weeks, and it's marvelous quality. And when I started eating their ground beef, grass-fed and grass-finished, I know Ken Berry says, and others say, you don't need grass-fed per se. You don't need it. Any meat is so much better than anything else, than plant-based. So You could even do carnivore on smack. Yeah, yeah, I think they're right. But I really noticed the difference. I was more satiated when I ate grass-fed ground beef every day, a pound of 500 grams. And I do nothing with it. I just make small patties. I do it in the tallow in a pan. I bake it till it's nice and it's a bit raw in the center. I like the raw meat as well. When I prepare it, I always eat some raw already. I'm fond of meat. I'm so fond of meat, and I eat that every day for months and months and months, and I'm not tired of it, not at all. I'm happy to think about it that I'm going to have it later today. I haven't eaten yet, of course. It's 10:30 here about, and I'll be eating 1 o'clock or so. And yeah,
So, in from August 2023 until now, what kind of changes have you noticed? You lost some weight. How much weight came off, and what other things have changed?
well, the weight loss began in the last months. The beginning of this year, 216 pounds. 1st of April, 198
Oh,
pounds.
wow.
I even got down to 196 pounds, but then I went up a little again to 203 pounds, and today it's 198. And I'm
Mm.
going back down because, I gained 6 pounds. You know why? I'm not only anemic. I wasn't only anemic because of shortage in iron. I was also B12 deficient, vitamin B12 deficient.
Oh.
I've been that all my life, I guess. That's why I wanted meat so badly. But I can't get it out of meat. When I started carnivore, I thought, well, this is a good moment to quit because to quit my supplements B12 because
Mm.
I'm going to eat so much meat now, and maybe if I'm not deficient or not deficient anymore, as I've been
Mm.
thinking all those years before, the diagnosis B12 deficiency was 2009, and then I had about 2 years of injections that I
Mm.
put myself in my legs, but they don't give you folate with that. It's B11. You need that together. And I found a very good alternative a couple of years later, 2011, I guess, um, which are lozenges you put under your tongue and they melt in your mouth under your tongue. And they go, the B12 and the folate, the B11 in that, goes directly into the bloodstream. And that is adenosylcobalamin and methylcobalamin. And those are the two bioavailable, those are the two forms of B12 your body creates yourself from the cobalamin you take out of meat. So it's high quality. But I thought, I'm going to stop that and see what it does when I go carnivore. I noticed I needed it. I noticed some symptoms that I had before when I noticed in 2009 that I needed B12. It's another kind of fatigue. It's more brain fog, and it's more you don't regenerate. It's hard to give words to it, but I noticed differences in those things. So I thought, ooh, I think I do need B12 again. And I had no patience to first go do blood work. I just trust my own perception.
Yeah.
So I started those lozenges again, but I had stopped before going carnivore. But the thing is, Dave, those lozenges are sweetened. The carrier is MDEX, which is saccharose substance that melts very good, but it's also very stable to carry something like B12. Plus, there's a cherry flavor, natural cherry flavor, so it's very pure tablets. In if you compare it to other B12 supplements, very very nicely produced, but it's sweet and it's necessary because B12, when you put it in your mouth, and you wouldn't have no sweetness and no flavor, like the strong flavor of cherry, it's super bitter. So you could not allow it to stay in your mouth. So you need something. But what happened the last month with two of those lozenges each day I got a trigger for sweetness, because I get the cherry taste in my mouth, and it takes about 15 to 20 minutes for them to really melt down. So I'm stuck with that sweet taste for like 15, 20 minutes each day. And I felt it building. I felt my craving for sweetness build up. I was starting to look at these lozenges as a treat, but I needed more. I wanted more. Oh my God. So I called the producer, the distributor and producer of it, because he's the one who had them made. He has a connection to a chemist. And I said to him, can't you make something else? No sugar, no sweet stuff, no sweet flavors. Why not use salts as a carrier? Salts melt in your mouth. Yeah, but salt is bad. No, sugar is bad. Sweets are bad. And I'm having a real problem here, because I am again struggling with cravings and I want sweetness. So he says, I'm going to talk about it. Okay, that's like a week ago or less. And I couldn't withstand my cravings. So I went to get cream, goat's cheese. I still had stevia in the cupboard. So cream with stevia and some strong coffee, and you mix that up and it's so delicious. And, and goat's cheese with bacon. And on top of that, I fell off the wagon real hard with something I hadn't had for years. Lastly, in the beginning of 2021, I had eaten cookies. But there's a gardener coming, and I had to also cancel him because of my laryngitis. And but I had already bought 2 almond paste cakes, because you get someone new who doesn't know how you eat, and they come to fix something in the garden. It's going to take almost a day, so you need something to present to them for their coffee. But I canceled that appointment. It's coming Monday now. But I still had those almond paste cookies, cakes in the cupboard. So in this indulgence in cream and cheese and bacon and stevia, I just couldn't resist. And I ate them. Wow, wow, wow. Well, they went in like, woo. Oh, I loved it. I loved it. And I
And
immediately, yeah,
that's what
6
contributed
pounds,
to the weight gain. Yeah.
6 pounds. 2 days of these indulgements and 6 pounds. But not only
So
that, I realized how devious this poison is of flour and sugar and almonds and fats, bad fats and salt and sweetness all together, how good it tastes. And it's drugs. It's
so
drugs.
yeah,
It's
so
hard drugs.
dangerous.
It's
Yeah.
hard drugs.
Yeah. Um How is your fatigue now?
It's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Oh wow, nice.
The physical
When did
fatigue is gone.
when did
My
you
I
notice it
have
lifting?
um pretty soon after I start, like in the first 3 weeks of starting carnivore, and that's not. I think that's not especially that's not per se the meat that does that. Although I do think that also, but it's leaving out all the rest. That's what does the trick. That's what brings on the first great results. Yeah. So
Well,
yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah,
That's fantastic.
yeah. It
But
is.
you said physical fatigue. So do you
Yeah,
still have some mental fatigue?
yeah. But that has also some other background, um, parallel with starting carnivore. There was another process going on. I told you earlier I had a rough childhood. I have been processing childhood trauma for all my life. I became a trauma therapist and a life coach. So I was an entrepreneur for the last 30 years of my working life. In 2022, I was at the end of my rope in very many ways, not just physically, but also mentally. And um, having to earn my own income has been really hard, has been a struggle all my life. But I wanted to be independent, so I kept going. And because I was a therapist, I could work just few hours and earn a decent living, like very minimum wages living. But what the hell? I don't care, you know. If I can accommodate my own boundaries in what I can and cannot do, then that's a high value to me. And so I never worked much. Not as a yoga teacher. I started out as a yoga teacher, not as a life coach, not as a trauma therapist. I never worked that much. I'd say I worked a day per week in the later years, especially after my menopause. But it has always been hard for me to work, also because I'm a highly sensitive person. That means I need so much more uh, recuperation time mentally, because everything I notice from inside, everything I notice from out there. That's why I'm so happy to live here in this quiet village. That helped a lot. But I understand people and I feel people so profoundly that when I'm with people, with one or two, okay, but with more, everything reaches me, and I have I have to control that viciously, and and tell myself, stay out of that, stay out of that, stay out of that, keep to yourself, and still, it's the default in me is processing so many details all the time and comparing them with everything else I've ever seen and known, ordering them, ranking them, assessing them. All this information is going through me so refined and so detailed. Uh, I never knew that, of course, that other people did not have the same mind. You don't know that when you grow up. You think others are the same. But later in life, I discovered, yeah, I'm really highly sensitive, and it's a thing. It's not a psychological thing, although it has psychological effects, but it's really a different temperament, from the other 8 out of 10 people in the human population, and it's in animals too. Every species, from spider to elephant, has 2 in 10 highly sensitive creatures, and because that helps the species to survive better. Um, the highly sensitive creatures in the population, they have noticed things through longer periods of time, and they have solutions that, in when circumstances change, uh, the population tends to go on the same way. It's hard to make changes, but that those moments in times of need, the highly sensitive creatures say, wait, I've made some connections, and we can do this, we can do that. And those are the people who advise in times of trouble. That's why I was a good therapist too, and a good coach, because I could sense what's the bigger picture, what's going on. I could see the solutions, and I could vocalize them, and verbalize them, um, and that yeah, was helpful.
Is this? It's almost like when you're in a social situation or when you're observing things. It's like you can participate in that, but then you need to have a long time to recharge your battery afterwards.
Yeah,
Is that?
because I need to process everything. I
Mm,
have uh, taken in so much, and it's going to it'll be a turmoil. We had a King's Day last April 27. That's a national holiday in Holland, in the Netherlands, because it's the birthday of our king, and it's an orange. Our king is called William of Orange, and Willem van Oranje, Willem Alexander van Oranje, Nassau. Yeah, that's our king. So he has a birthday, and the whole country goes orange, and we have parties on the street, and everybody puts their attic and their sheds on the streets to sell all the junk they have in their homes, and everybody buys new junk from everybody, and it's lovely. And there's music everywhere, and parties, and we had a great party the night before, and a great day the night on his birthday in our village, with booths and music, and the mayor came to raise the flags, and we sing the national anthem all together. It's lovely. It's lovely. So I participated in that, but I took care of having tasks that are clear and have boundaries. So the night before was a party. That's where you party. Okay, we dance and we talk and we drink and we laugh. I don't drink alcohol anymore. Just a tiny bit of wine in occasionally, on occasion like that, but not any. And so, and I get high on endorphins. Yeah. So that's party. Then the next morning, I helped a friend who had a booth with her stuff that she wanted to get out of the house. So we made a nice booth. But that was only 3.5 hours contained. So, and then I know what I have to do, and I can shut out everything else. And there's some socializing in that, but I can control that. And then I had a long break for eating meat, for sleeping an hour, for watching a silly soap. And then I got back, because I'm also someone who a volunteer for traffic direction, because the whole village is partying, so the traffic has to go beyond, and we need some people in these yellow and orange jackets, so that you're an official director of the traffic. And but that's too, that's contained in 2 hours doing that. And then there's Of course, there's a little party afterwards with the crew that did that, the traffic crew. But then I need at least 2 days. I did it really well this time. I'm still learning because knowing that I'm highly sensitive is also pretty recent. It's 2019. So I'm still learning what's best. And but I did it pretty well, and it took 2 days. Normally, it would have taken me a week, like 2 or 3 years ago. But I understand more and more what I need. And that's really nice. And then in 2022, my business went upside down. It stopped. I just couldn't anymore. I had lived off savings for a long time, and I had to go on welfare. And they received me with open arms. First, they tried to help me to restart my business, no success. And now I'm on welfare, and they understand my story. They don't bother me. I just get my bit of money from the government, but daddy government, let's say. Yeah. So I just get my money, and they don't bother me. But because they understand I've been trying so hard all my life and succeeded in taking care of myself all my life, by just sharing with people what I could offer them or what I had learned to help myself with, and how I could help them with it. And yeah, so but then that meant that in June 2023 I was really finalizing my life as an entrepreneur. So that was the official moment that it stopped. And that allowed me for a very crucial, really pivotal process, last step in my whole process of undoing the results that I had, the effects that I had to deal with from that childhood. I figured out finally that I wasn't just in an abusive home. I wasn't just in an incestuous home. I wasn't just in a very unhappy and neglectful home. I wasn't just in a horror. There was also a narcissistic abuse. And narcissistic abuse was for me and for many others, I understand now, the last thing you discover, because it's so sneaky. It's such a sneaky way of putting people down and driving them out of themselves and making them believe they're no good, and keeping you struggling for your self-worth all your life. But ending the necessity of earning my own wages and being upheld by the state, and that was the deepest relaxation I had felt ever. That there was a stress, there was a pressure falling off that was huge, and that allowed me to, in that opening, I began to see that I was still colonized by that narcissistic regime, that it had me work hard as I could, but for me it was hard work. And now I didn't have to do it anymore. And I noticed how much grip, how much hold this narcissistic regime still had on me. And I could work with also some really wonderful Richard Grannon, for instance. Mostly, he was the most important fighter of narcissistic abuse and therapist to help with overcoming that. on the internet, on YouTube. Thank God for YouTube, because in psychological in regular therapy, there is a lot of attention, and in psychiatry, for people who have narcissistic personality disorder. But they're victims. That's another story. And we're not here yet in addressing that. Acknowledging that being a victim of narcissistic abuse is another cup of tea, is a bigger cup of tea than any other shit that can happen to you as a child. So I figured that out. And in July 2023, for the first time, I felt myself stepping out of hiding from and keeping myself safe from that narcissistic abusive regime, and stepping out as myself. And the last months, this last year, I've been really learning and experiencing first time ever to be this much myself in company with people. So before that, I had never lost my wisdom. My wisdom was there as a child and has helped me throughout my life. But I always, and I never understood why, I always had to figure out, what would I, as the wise and sweet person I know that I am, what would I feel? How would I respond to this person or that person in this situation? I had to come up with that and then act it out, because I did not have access to my true being, to my ownness. That still had to hide because I was still colonized by that narcissism, that gaslighting and oppressing and cuckoo way of dealing with children. So for the first time since July, I did not have to think about what would be my inner response to something. I would just have it. I would have to respond. It would come natural, and that stayed. And a month later, I started on Carnivore. And I think you can't uncouple those things, that it's coupled, because Carnivore is something else. You need to be ready for that. And I think I really was, because I don't need to stuff up to be able to sleep. I don't need to comfort myself with food. And by the way, there's nothing more comforting than eating meat.
So, Sam, how can people reach out to you? Do you have a website or a YouTube or an Instagram or anything like that?
Now, when I stopped as an entrepreneur, I stopped being on social media and I stopped being online. But you can write down my Gmail address, which is samar.arons@gmail.com. So my first name, my last name with a dot in between. And I will check my Gmail account for emails the coming time.
Awesome. I'll put your email in the show notes. And Sam, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with us. And I'm very happy to hear that you're doing so well.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Sam, how do you find... Let me start that again. Sorry, I messed that up.
Okay.
So, Sam, how do... I'm going to do it again. Ah!